Good afternoon, and welcome to another Notes from the Route. This is session 13. Uh, Today's conversation is going to be about the myth of the creative persona. Um, you can find back episodes on my YouTube channel, Jared Forte, also on the website, jaredforte.com. You can find back episodes of this show, and follow me on Twitter to connect and continue this conversation further down the road. So let's just get right into it. The reason, one of the inspirations for this particular topic, I watched a documentary about Jimi Hendrix last week, and he's a well-known sort of tragic figure, a musician from the 60s. Everybody knows who Hendrix is, and he's pretty well agreed that he's one of the best guitarists of all time. And many of the people who saw him perform early on immediately saw that he was something special. He was doing something that other people weren't doing. And there was obviously a lot of natural ability that went along with what he was doing. He had some gifts. He had very large hands that allowed him to do certain chords and progressions that other people just couldn't do. But given all that, it was also clear that he worked extremely hard at his craft. He was never seen without a guitar in his hand. He never had an idle moment. Whenever he sat down and nothing was going on, he was playing his guitar. Always. So even though he had this gift, there was a lot of hard work behind that. And how that ties to the creative persona is a lot of times when you see a person that's extremely gifted at a talent or a skill, it seems like they just make it look easy. People who are very skillful make their work look effortless. But the reality is there's a lot of effort that goes into making something look easy. And we sort of have this fantasy when we look at people who perform at a high level. We get this picture in our mind that, well, I could never reach that level. I could never be that good. Because we feel like what we see is just the evidence of a gift. And while there is a gift element there, the biggest part of it is the hard work that went behind reaching that level. I know my personal experience in the early 90s, I was writing with a producer, and I sort of, in the back of my mind, fancied myself a singer. And so I was writing for an R&B group, and we went to a concert to see Mint Condition, which is they're still touring now. They're one of the better live R&B bands to come out in the last 20 years or so. So we went to see them perform, and when I saw their performance on stage, I immediately decided that I could never be that good. I immediately felt like, well, I'm just some kind of a fraud because those guys are doing something. They're on a level that I could never reach. And it really put my talent or put my skill level in perspective for me. And it wasn't that I was so intimidated by their gift. I was aware of the fact that I wasn't working as hard as I needed to work if I wanted to reach that level, and it was a reality check for me at that time. You know, I would either needed to quit playing around with it, or just admit to myself that I'm not really about that. So even though they had their funky presentation of the way that they presented themselves on stage, what really showed through was their musicianship and the craft behind what they were doing. You can take examples from the sports world as well. When you look at some of the best performers, like in basketball, for instance, we see them moving and gliding across the court and making these incredible baskets, this incredible ball handling, and it looks like magic. It looks like something that is created, uh, through special effects. But the reality is, as gifted as they are, that hard work went behind it. So, so we can sometimes lead ourselves to believe in whatever in line of endeavor it is. Whether if you're a business person, you have your entrepreneurial heroes who seem to be larger than life for whatever reason. If you're a performer of another type, if you're an actor, there's some people who have such a finely tuned instrument that you're like, wow, they're so good. Um, I want to know what the story is behind that. And then, we go and we look through and you get these bits and pieces about, how they are, their process, and all the things that we can come across in the media to learn about the story behind the people who perform in this way. And we build up in our minds this sort of fantasy picture of, okay, I understand what their story is. If I follow and do what they did, then I can have, I can perform at that level. Um, the problem is a lot of times the stories that we hear about these people who perform at these high level miss the point. That story is edited in such a way as to make it an interesting story. The real meat of what it takes to be a successful creative person or a successful performer in any field, the work that goes behind it is pretty boring. There's nothing glamorous about the everyday grind of doing the things that you have to do to get really good at something. There's no glory behind that. The shining performances that we are dazzled by when we see people perform at the highest level, when we see that incredible presentation, that award-winning performance, that clutch moment in a game, when we see that magical moment, it's propped up on hours upon hours of drudgery and hard, boring work in private, in obscurity when nobody's looking. It's really what it boils down to: creative success, building that skill level, and creating a body of work that is worth noticing and that cuts through the crowd. The work for that it's this thing that happens when nobody is watching. You build that you build that in the privacy of your own office, in your own room, in your own practice studio, where nobody's watching. That's where you really get good. There's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of availability to the media now in terms of everybody is essentially their own media company. You can set up channels and you can give people a view into your life, a view into your process, like I'm doing right here. And no matter how open access things are, whatever you see is still an edited view. It's not the whole story. So you can't be too enamored by the stories that you hear. Take the lessons that are there, but don't get caught up in the way that people choose to present themselves. A lot of that is positioning. A lot of that is branding. All those things that are necessary. So yeah, the whole mythology behind it is it's there for a reason, because if it wasn't interesting, if the story wasn't interesting, we wouldn't attach to it. We wouldn't learn from it. And many times, people who are telling you a story have a motive, an agenda, so to speak, as to why they're telling that story. They're trying to influence you to take some sort of action. So they have to craft the story in a way that's compelling to you. They have to choose the parts of the story that will connect with you so that they can influence you to do the things that you want to do. And for people who have an investment in trying to have a transaction with you, then the mythology gets even deeper. Sometimes the hard work that it takes to achieve creative success gets obscured when someone is trying to sell you a solution, or when someone's trying to teach you, sell you on their method, a way of doing things. Sometimes the hard parts of it, especially the internal and emotional labor that goes into being courageous and doing something, much of that gets obscured in that presentation of check out the way to do this thing, you can do it too. So when you see a person who is acting who is acting in their zone, who is operating within a special gift that they seem to have, watch it and appreciate it, because it's not rare that a person has a gift. The rare thing is that a person recognizes their gift and have the commitment and the dedication to put all of those dry, lonely, hard hours into making and shaping that gift so that it's ready to present to the world. So many times our gifts make us lazy. The things that are easy to us, we continue to let them be easy. And by doing that, we prevent them from ever being special. So the part of the story that really matters when it comes to the way that we look at the heroes that we appreciate in every field of endeavor, whether it's an entrepreneur, an athlete, an artist of any type, the part of the story that really matters is the part that we don't see. The part that where they spent those hours practicing, the part where they sucked and we didn't know about it, the part where they calculated their message before they presented it to you. Those are the things that make it special. Those are the parts that we don't see. So realize that that's what's there, and that's the part that's available to everyone. Yours is a unique gift, as was whoever it is that you're celebrating, whoever it is you're looking to for inspiration, theirs was a unique gift, but yours is too. So when you tap into that and you put that effort and work into crafting it, then you have the ability and the opportunity to do something special as well. So that's today's session of Notes from the Route, session 13. Hope you enjoyed it. Visit my website, www.jaredforte.com. Follow me on Twitter @thisjared. I look forward to catching you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Thanks a lot.